Shalom, y'all, and welcome back to Light of the Scroll. Welcome back to a new episode. It has been 2 weeks already since the last time I spoke to y'all. And so this episode, it may for the ones who for the ones who don't follow the Old Testament, for the ones who don't follow the whole Bible, for the ones who don't think that God's laws, I don't even like to use the word laws, I like to use the instructions, because that's what Torah means. Torah means instructions. It does not mean law. But anyone who believes that the law has been done away with, this might hurt your feelings, but it may, what I hope it does, and I pray that you listen to the whole entire thing, because if you've come across this and it's kind of making you wonder, oh, she's wrong, and it's kind of irritating you a little bit, maybe God's trying to tell you something. Maybe he's trying to push you in the right direction. That's not for me to decide. That's for you to be making sure that you are listening to the Father. But hopefully this will open some hearts, open some eyes. Maybe it'll make somebody think, because this is going to be pretty jam-packed. I don't even know how long this is going to be. I may have to do part 1, part 2. I don't know. So, first of all, basically, as you can see, by the title, it's not replacement theology. What do we mean by that? Where are we going with that? OMG. Where we're going with that, like I said, it might make some of you a little uncomfortable. This is something that I have been looking into for a while. It's based upon, we've had several teachings in our own fellowship on it from our brother David. And so then looking into this some more, and then I've also taken some notes out of some other teachers, not my teachers, but just some people that we listen to on Facebook. I don't consider them my teacher, but they are somebody's teacher, so it's fine. I've just listened to them, kind of take my own notes, but then I also look in my own Bible as well. I don't just rely on the word that somebody is telling me. I also look at the verse. And here's the thing. I've said it before. I believe I've said it before, so I'm going to say it now or again, whatever it is. Different Bibles have different translations. So please keep in the back of your mind that the Bible that I have says Gentile in the New Testament. But my husband's Bible, which is the scriptures, his says nation in the New Testament instead of the word Gentile. So we should also be mindful about that. And what I like to do, I like to take several different Bibles. And I mean, because I've got my Bible, I've got the New Living, I don't even know what I have, thanks to my wonderful grandpa. I have the New Life Study Bible, I believe, is what I have. And then Steve has the scriptures. And then, of course, people at our fellowship have various different Bibles. And I really love and I really enjoy looking at at certain verses in my Bible, and then looking at what other people say. Because it's actually, even though it says pretty similar things, a lot of times, there's a lot of words that are different. And so you have to, I like the way that my Bible translates that better because it sounds more better my way. Well, you have to have discernment on the way that what that should have been translated. And you need to be careful on thinking, I like it better this way, or I like it better that way. Use discernment. How do you think that God is referring to it, not how you are referring to it? Okay, so here we do know that there is 41,000 approximately. I mean, this was, I haven't Googled here recently, but within the last 10 years, and it's probably gone up in the last 10 years, at one point there was 41,000 denominations that followed our Messiah, Yeshua. 41,000. Now, when he comes back and when we're reigning with him, it's one house, one king. So how are 41,000 different denominations going to come together? It's not going to be everybody. And I don't know if some of you are thinking, man, she talks a lot of doom and gloom, or, what about the love of Jesus? Jesus does love you, but also as people who are studying, we are also supposed to spread the truth, and we're supposed to spread to make sure that y'all are, or that we are all prepared for when Jesus comes back. We don't know the day or time, so we can't say he'll never show up in my lifetime. I mean, you still have 20, 30, 40, 50, 10, 5 years to live. Who's to say he doesn't show up in the next 2 years? He might show up in the next 6 months. We need to be prepared, regardless if he shows up in our lifetime or not. We don't know the day, the time, or the hour, so therefore, we can't say that he won't be here during our lifetime. We can't say that. He could be here tomorrow. Tomorrow could be the day. I don't know. I'm alive, and we need to be prepared for that. We need to not push it underneath the rug and pretend that it's not going to happen. It may not have happened for the last 2,000 years, but it doesn't matter. It could happen tomorrow. And are you ready? Do you know? We know that there are certain things that happens before he comes, and those certain things have not happened necessarily yet. But if you don't read certain books, then you don't know what those things are. Okay, so we know that there's approximately, give or take, 41,000 different denominations who follow Yeshua, Jesus Christ. Okay, so and I know I always talk about the law, so this one, I am going to discuss how when you are grafted in, you have become Israel. You are no longer a Gentile, okay? I am going to start out with, just to kind of base our foundation, right? It's great to base our foundation. The Old Testament is the best foundation in the whole wide world. And so we don't want that foundation to break or crack. So let's start in Deuteronomy 28, verse 15. And we all know that, well, I don't know, I can't say that we all know, but Deuteronomy is basically the second telling. They are, at this point, they are getting ready to cross the Jordan and go into the promised land. So Deuteronomy 28, chapter 15, you can either pause this and go to your Bible, or keep running, jogging, however you're listening to this episode. Just be sure to, if you have a moment, take a mental note of some of these scriptures, or just go back and maybe re-listen. So Deuteronomy 28:15. However, if you do not obey the Lord your God and do not carefully follow all his commands and decrees I am giving you today, all these curses will come upon you and overtake you. I'm going to keep going. You will be cursed in the city and cursed in the country. Your basket and your kneading trough will be cursed. The fruit of your womb will be cursed, and the crops of your land, and the calves of your herds, and the lambs of your flocks. You will be cursed when you come in, and cursed when you go out. Now, like I said, I believe that the whole Bible is applicable today, and we know that from reading the Bible, it is applicable to Israel. During this time in Deuteronomy, it was not considered the Jews. There was the house of Judah, Asher, Dan, Naphtali, 12 tribes, okay? All right, so now let's go ahead and go to Deuteronomy 29:1. These are the terms of the covenant the Lord commanded Moses to make with the Israelites in Moab. In addition to the covenant he had made with them in Horeb, Moses summoned all the Israelites and said to them, "Your eyes have seen all that the Lord did in Egypt to Pharaoh, to all his officials, and to all his land. With your own eyes you saw these great trials, these miraculous signs, and great wonders. But to this day the Lord has not given you a mind that understands, or eyes that see, or ears that hear." Okay? Now let's go to Deuteronomy 29:15-14. I'm going to seem like I'm kind of like jumping around a little bit, but we're going to start getting to verses that tend to make sense here. So Deuteronomy 29:14, and it says, I need glasses apparently. "I am making this covenant with its oath, not only with you who are standing here with us today in the presence of the Lord our God, but also with those who are not here today." Okay, so he is making a covenant not only with who is standing here today, but who is not standing here today. That's a pretty, but it's Old Testament, so it doesn't matter. Okay, well, let's just keep going. That's fine. So, Deuteronomy 30, and you can go ahead and read this. But Deuteronomy 30 is basically God prophesying of what will happen to the Israelites. Just listen to this for 1 second. God is prophesying what's going to happen. They're getting ready in Deuteronomy. They haven't crossed over to the land just yet. They're getting ready to. But listen to what God says. "When all these blessings and curses I have set before you come upon you, and you take them to heart wherever the Lord your God disperses you among the nations, and when you and your children return to the Lord your God and obey him with all your heart and with all your soul, according to everything I command you today, then the Lord your God will restore your fortunes and have compassion on you and gather you again from all the nations where he scattered you. Even if you have been banished to the most distant land under the heavens, from there the Lord your God will gather you and bring you back." So Abba is saying that he's going to scatter them. And they're probably like, they're like, okay, what? They have no idea what's going on, obviously. They're getting ready to go into the land, finally, after 40 years. But Abba is saying that after I scatter you, I will bring you back. It's talking in future tense. That's not past tense. So Deuteronomy 30 is God prophesying what will happen to the Israelites, okay? So we know that the tribes, we know that they split. And the split, and we know that they went to, the northern tribes went to Assyria, and the house of Judah the south was of South Israel. I don't even know if that's what it was called then. And then Judah ended up coming back. The 10 tribes, the house of Israel, never came back. So if we go to 1 Kings 11:31, here is where the split happens. This is where they get split. And they get split. Basically, God divorces the house of Israel. So 1 Kings 11:31. First Kings 11:31. I think I wrote that down wrong, because that does not make any sense. Yeah, I wrote that down wrong. I apologize. I think I wrote down the wrong verse. Wow, way to go. Way to go, Jennifer. Screwed it all up. Anyways, okay, so you can Google it on where the house of Israel and the house of Judah split. It's going to be in 1 Kings somewhere. Gosh darn it. messes up my whole thing. Nope. Hold on. I know I can find it. Wow. Dang. Oh, hold on. Yes. Okay. Oh my gosh, I had it on the wrong paper. Oh, the Anyways, okay, so okay, so yes. So 1 Kings 11:31. This is where the split is. Okay, yes. Okay. I was looking at 13:31 and I thought I was, oh my gosh. Apparently I can't read today. Then he said to Jeroboam, take 10 pieces for yourself, for this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. See, I am going to tear the kingdom out of Solomon's hand and give you 10 tribes. But for the sake of my servant David and the city of Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, he will have one tribe. I will do this because they have forsaken me and worshipped Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Sidonians, Chemosh, the god of the Moabites, and Molech, the god of the Ammonites, and have not walked away in my ways, nor done what is right in my eyes, nor kept my statutes and laws as David, Solomon's father, did. But I will take the whole kingdom out of Solomon's hand. I have made him ruler all the days of his life for the sake of David's servant, whom I choose and whom observed my commands and statutes. See? And so you see how the house of Israel is separated. It's the 10 tribes of the north, and then it says 2 tribes, so Benjamin and Judah become one tribe, and so that's where the split happens. And they were worshiping Ashtaroth, which if you go back, I believe in some studies, Ashtaroth is the goddess of Estar. What does that sound like? The goddess of Easter, the goddess of fertility. Hence the bunnies and the eggs on Easter when Yeshua is supposed to have risen. What do bunnies and eggs have to do with that? So the house of Israel got divorced from God because of the fact that they were worshiping other gods. Not okay, because we are told to not worship other gods. But that's not part of the okay. And then later on, and so then also you will see throughout the Bible scripture that the house of Israel is also called the house of Joseph, or sometimes it's referenced as just the house of Ephraim. And then you see that Judah, once the house of Israel, the 10 tribes, was taken into Assyria. Later on, we see that Judah was taken to Babylon for 70 years, because they did not take care of the land like they were supposed to in the Old Testament. I say Old Testament. I don't like using the Old Testament. So every 7 years, you're supposed to let your land rest. And they did not, the house of Judah did not let the land rest for, I don't remember how long it was. But anyways, God had him go to Babylon for the number of years times 10 or something like that. And so they were in Babylon. That's why they were in Babylon for 70 years. Well, then Judah came back. Judah ended up coming back after the 7 years, coming back to Jerusalem, coming back to the nation state of Israel. But the northern house of Israel never came back, and they were pushed out into the nations. So we see that now here's where it's starting to get a little, everything that you have learned through your church, through your pastors, through your preachers, this might get a little, confusing, or you might get really irritated, or you might start scoffing at me. But that's okay, because this is what Abba has put on my heart to share, and so I have to do it. Israel is called the lost sheep. Israel is called the scattered sheep. And so let's look at some verses to kind of get into more context of what that actually means. So in Jeremiah, we're going to go to Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 17. It's a pretty big book, Jeremiah. It's a really good book. So Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 17. Jeremiah is a I can't remember if he's a major prophet or a minor prophet. So Jeremiah's purpose was to urge God's people to turn from their sins and back to God. His original audience was Judah. Okay. So Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 17. And it says, Israel is a scattered flock that lions have chased away. The Lion of Judah. The first to devour was the king of Assyria. The last to crush his bones was Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. Therefore, this is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. I will punish the king of Babylon and his land as I punished the king of Assyria, but I will bring Israel back to his own pasture, and he will graze on Carmel and Bashan. His appetite will be satisfied on the hills of Ephraim and Gilead. In those days, at that time, declares the Lord, search will be made for Israel's guilt, but there will be none. Okay, and so I like to keep this verse in mind. I didn't write down this verse, but Yeshua does say that you can only come to the Father through him. He is the gate and the Father at the head. So keep that in mind there, because we're going to talk about Yeshua and the gate and sheep here as we move on. And I don't know how much further I'm really going to get on in this one. This is a heavy saying to think about. And that's why I say, read your Bible. Go to these verses yourself. Read in context. Read before, read after, see what's going on and why that verse was said. Let's go to Jeremiah 50, verse 6. My people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have led them astray and caused them to roam on the mountains. They wandered over mountain and hill and forgot their own resting place. Whoever found them devoured them. Their enemies said, we are not guilty, for they sinned against the Lord, their true pasture, the Lord, the hope of the fathers. It's, and this is about Babylon. It's not about Babylon, but it is about Babylon. Just go read it yourself. It's fine. Let's go to Ezekiel 34:12 and see what that verse says. Ezekiel 34:12. It's the right verse, Jennifer. As a shepherd looks after his scattered flock when he is with them, so will I look after my sheep. I will rescue them from all the places where they were scattered on a day of clouds and darkness. I will bring them out from the nations and gather them from the countries, and I will bring them into their own land. I will pasture them on mountains of Israel, in the ravines and in all the settlements in the land. I will tend them in a good pasture. Oh my gosh. I will tend them in a good pasture, and the mountain heights of Israel will be their grazing land. There they will lie down in good grazing land, and there they will feed in a rich pasture on the mountains of Israel. I myself will tend my sheep and have them lie down, declares the sovereign Lord. I will search for the lost and bring back the strays. I will bind up the injured and strengthen the weak, but the sleek and the strong I will destroy. I will shepherd the flock with justice. Now, this is the house of Israel that we're looking for. It's all through the Bible that the house of Israel is going to be brought back to the land. And did you hear where are the scattered sheep? They're in all the nations. They're in all the countries. They are among the Gentiles. Okay? Check this out. Let's go to Psalms 106, chapter 106, verse 47. Psalm 106, verse 47. Save us, O Lord our God, and gather us from the nations, that we may give thanks to your holy name and glory in your praise. Now, back to Ezekiel, chapter 11, verse 16. Therefore, say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Although I sent them far away among the nations and scattered them among the countries, yet for a little while I have been a sanctuary for them in the countries where they have gone. Therefore say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I will gather you from the nations and bring you back from the countries where you have been scattered, and I will give you back the land of Israel again. So that's Ezekiel chapter 11. So it seems like it's and then we just read Ezekiel 34:12. So the same thing was in Ezekiel 34:12 as it is in Ezekiel 11:16. So there's something going on with Israel, the house of Israel, and all of Ezekiel. So now let's go to Hosea. Now Hosea, I can go through the whole book of Hosea, and it's all about the house of Israel. Now, Hosea says, Hosea chapter 7, verse 8, talks about how Ephraim is mixed and has no idea who he is. So the house of Israel, remember I had said earlier that it's also considered the house of Joseph or just Ephraim. So let's go to Hosea chapter 7, verse 8. And it says, Ephraim mixes with the nations. Ephraim is a flat cake not turned over. Foreigners sap his strength, but he does not realize it. His hair is sprinkled with gray, but he does not notice. Israel's arrogance testifies against him, but despite all this, he does not return to the Lord his God or search for him. Ephraim is like a dove, easily deceived and senseless, now calling to Egypt, not turning to Assyria. When they go, I will throw my net over them. I will pull them down like birds of the air. When I hear them flocking together, I will catch them. Woe to them because they have strayed from me. Destruction to them because they have rebelled against me. I long to redeem them, but they speak lies against me. They do not cry out for me from their hearts, but wail upon their beds. They gather together for grain and new wine, but turn away from me. I trained them and strengthened them, but they plot evil against me. They do not turn to the Most High. They are like a faulty bow. Their leaders will fall by the sword because of their insolent words. For this they will be ridiculed in the land of Egypt. The whole chapter of Hosea is about the house of Israel and how they have strayed. We can even go to Hosea 8:8, where it says, Israel is swallowed up. Now she is among the nations like a worthless thing. For they have gone up to Assyria like a wild donkey wandering alone. Ephraim has sold herself to lovers. Although they have sold themselves among the nations, I will now gather them together. They will begin to waste away under the oppression of the mighty king. And it can go on and on and on about Hosea. All right, so then if we go to Amos 9:9, check this out. This is where it's going to start getting really... So listen to this. For I will give the command, and I will shake the house of Israel among all the nations, as grain is shaken in a sea, and not a pebble will reach the ground. All the sinners among my people will die by the sword. All those who say disaster will not overtake or meet us. So it's going to be like sifting the house of Israel. And then we can go to verse 11. In that day, I will restore David's fallen tent. I will repair its broken places, restore its ruins, and build it as it used to be, so that they may possess the remnant of Edom and all the nations that bear my name, declares the Lord. who will do these things. The days are coming, declares the Lord, when the reaper will be overtaken by the plowman and the planter by the one treading grapes. New wine will drip from the mountains and flow from all the hills. I will bring back my exiled people, Israel. They will rebuild the ruined cities and live in them. They will plant vineyards and drink their wine. I will plant in Israel in their own land, never again to be uprooted. Whew. There is a lot in these verses. Like I said, this the house of Israel was the 10 tribes was dispersed all across Syria. Over time, they assimilated to Gentiles. By the New Testament times, most still knew which tribe they were from, and when Yeshua was here, it's said that they lived across the Euphrates River, according to a rabbi or a Jewish man named Josephus, but I'm not really sure on who he is, so I really don't want to say if that's true or not. But according to that, that's why Jesus was here. Jesus was looking for the lost sheep of Israel. It even states that he was looking for the lost sheep of Israel. So then, of course, so then after the, by the time the New Testament was here, and then as time went on, they still didn't come into receiving, not that they didn't receive Jesus, but they didn't come back to Israel. They didn't come back to Jerusalem, which totally fulfilled prophecy over the last 2,000 years by them not knowing who they are. You could be part of the 10 tribes. We don't know. So no one was allowed to be part of Israel, quote, with my hands, per the Jews, if they didn't convert to the way that the Jews had added to. And it is said that some rabbis will tell you that the northern part of Israel never returned. So the lost tribes are still out there. Why did the pagans accept Paul's message so fast? It's because they knew the problem, saw the solution, and that Paul had the good news that they could come back to Israel, that they were able to come back, that Abba said that they could come back. That's the good news. The good news is that Yeshua was here for the lost sheep, because remember we had talked about how Abba had divorced them. We can get into that. I've got so much more to talk about. Let's go to the New Testament now. We're gonna get out of the Old Testament. We're gonna go to the New Testament. Let's go to, I believe, James 1. James 1:1. Let's see here. James 1:1. No, that's not what I wrote. Oh, sorry. John 7:33. Whoa, how did I get James 1:1? I don't know. John chapter 7, verse 33. I'm sorry. Remember, we are not all perfect. We all mess up. That's why I'm trying opening the Bible. Go, make sure to open up your own Bible as well. Don't just take my word for it. Okay, so John chapter 7, verse 33. Sorry, I don't know why I wrote down James 1:1. I didn't even write anything next to it, so I don't know why I did that. John chapter 7, 33 to 35. Huh? So, Jesus said, I am with you for only a short time, and then I go to the one who sent me. You will look for me, but you will not find me. And where I am, you cannot come. Well, why couldn't they come? Because there was a law in the Jewish oral law that you couldn't talk to the dispersion or the Greeks, which is why they say, where does this man intend to go that we cannot find him? Will he go where our people live scattered among the Greeks and teach the Greeks? What did he mean when he said, you will look for me, but you will not find me, and where I am, you cannot come? That's why, because where they couldn't come, they couldn't go. And did you catch that? Will he go where our people live scattered among the Greeks and teach the Greeks, because remember I said they assimilated to the nations. So did Yeshua go and assimilate to the Greeks or to talk to the dispersion among the Greeks? I don't know. Let's check out John 10, verses 3 and 4. Oh my gosh, my fingers are just not working today. John 10, verse 3 and 4. All right. Yeshua, Jesus, is the good shepherd. We all know that he is the good shepherd. So the watchman opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. And then if we go to 10, 11, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for his sheep. The hired hand is not the shepherd who owns the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks the flock. Now let's go to verse 14. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that are not of this sheep pen. I must bring them also. They too will listen to my voice, and there shall be one flock and one shepherd. The reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life only to take it up again. So right there is just showing that that Jesus was prophesying that he was looking for the lost sheep. There was other sheep that weren't of his pen, and that the Father loves him because he'll lay down his life for his sheep and he will rise again. And Yeshua is the gate. This is why he is the gate. So if you go back to the beginning, the sheep are equal to 12 tribes. Yeshua's parables are about sheep and the lost tribes. Let's take a look at Matthew 15:24. So if we go to Matthew 15:24, what does Jesus say about the lost sheep? 15:24. And he answered, I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel. So he's looking to talk to the scattered house of Israel. Jesus is here for the good news for the house of Israel. Let's check out Luke 19:10 for a little bit more context on that. Let's see what Luke 19:10 has to say. And if you hear my paper wrestling, I'm not sorry about it, because then you know that I really am flipping through pages in my Bible and I'm reading it. So Luke 19:10. Let's just go to 19:9. Jesus said to him, today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save what was lost. The house of Israel is lost. The 10 tribes have been lost. Okay? Looks like I have, and then let's go back to, I already read Ezekiel. So then remember Ezekiel 34:12, how it was talking about the, how they were scattered. So let's go get a refresher right there real quick. Just real quick. I'm going to go there. You don't have to go there. If you've already been there, then you already know what it says. But let's just go there really quick. 34:12 states, as a shepherd looks after his scattered flock when he is with them, so will I look after my sheep. I will rescue them from all the places where they were scattered on a day of clouds and darkness. I will bring them out from the nations and gather them from the countries, and I will bring them into their own land. I will pasture them on the mountains of Israel. So he is their shepherd. Yeshua is our shepherd. We've always known that, right? I have 1 Peter 2:9 wrote down. So let's see why I wrote that one down. Maybe it wasn't. I think what happened was that some of these verses and chapters I wrote down thinking that about something else, and I thought it went with this, and so that was my fault, and I do apologize. So 1 Peter 2:9, 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9, what does that say? But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people belonging to God, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. Once you were not a people, but now you are the people of God. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. Once you weren't a people. Now let's go talk about what happened with the house of Israel, because we saw that they were divorced in 1 Kings, how they got told that they're going to get scattered among the nation, or they gave 10 pieces here and 2 pieces over here and made one tribe here. So then I have Exodus 19:4-6 wrote down. Exodus 19:4-6. Why did I write that one down? So it says, you yourselves have seen what I did to Egypt and how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now, if you obey me fully and keep my covenant, then out of all nations you will be a treasured possession. Although the whole earth is mine, you will be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words you are to speak to the Israelites. Okay, all right. So many of the people we know are from the northern house of Israel. So they're in 1 Peter 2:9, that reflects back to Exodus, talking about how we are God's chosen people, and we are to obey his covenants. And he got mad at the house of Israel and divorced them. And then we know that but divorce is not allowed. Okay, we're gonna come to that. Okay, so we're going to talk about that here. Give me just a moment. There is also a verse 2 that says that you are not my people, and that's also a part of the divorce as well. Apparently, I didn't get that one down. There's so much with this, the house of Israel, and the splitting up, and the coming back, and the not coming back. So I have wrote down Romans 9:24. Why did I write this? Oh, so let's go to 9:23. So what if? Okay, I'm gonna go to 9:22. What if God, choosing to show his wrath and make his power known, bore with great patience the objects of his wrath prepared for destruction? What if he did this to make the riches of his glory known to the objects of his mercy, whom he prepared in advance for glory, even us, whom he has called, not only from the Jews, but also from the Gentiles, as he says in Hosea? Let's go check out Hosea, because this is from Hosea 1. So what is God doing? Let's see. Let's go to 1:2. When the Lord began to speak through Hosea, the Lord said to him, go take to yourself an adulterous wife and children of unfaithfulness, because the land is guilty of the vilest adultery in departing from the Lord. So he married Gomer, daughter of Diblaim, and she conceived and bore him a son. Then the Lord said to Hosea, call on Jezreel, because I will soon punish the house of Jehu for the massacre of Jezreel. I will put an end to the kingdom of Israel. In that day I will break Israel's bow in the valley of Jezreel. Gomer conceived again and gave birth to a daughter. Then the Lord said to Hosea, call her Lo-Ruhamah, for I will no longer show love to the house of Israel, that I should at all forgive them. Yet I will show love to the house of Judah, and I will save them, not by bow, sword or battle or by horses or horsemen, but by the Lord their God. After she had weaned Lo-ruhamah, Gomer had another son, and the Lord said, call him Lo-ammi, for you are not my people, and I am not your God. Yet the Israelites will be like the sand on the seashore, which cannot be measured or counted. In the place where it was said to them, you are not my people, they will be called sons of the living God. The people of Judah and the people of Israel will be reunited, and they will appoint one leader, and will come up out of the land, for great will be the day of Jezreel. So you see how the house of Israel and the house of Judah is all separate through everything that I have been saying. But what does this all mean? It all means that you can come. So, as a follower of Yeshua, you are Israel. You have been grafted into the commonwealth. Let's go look at Ephesians 2:11. Ephesians 2:11. Therefore, remember that formerly you who are Gentiles by birth and called uncircumcised by those who call themselves the circumcision, that done in the body by the hands of men, remember that at that time you were separate from Christ, excluded from citizenship in Israel, and foreigners to the covenants of the promise. Okay, can I read that again? Listen to this. This is Ephesians 2, chapter 11. Therefore, remember that formerly you who are Gentiles by birth and called uncircumcised by those who call themselves the circumcision, the Jews, remember that at that time you were separate from Christ, excluded from citizenship in Israel, and foreigners to the covenants of the promise, without hope and without God in the world. But now in Christ Jesus, you who once were far away have been brought near through the blood of Christ. So that just shows that the house of Israel is coming back, okay? So are the only ones to be saved the house of Israel? No. You, who are Gentiles, have now been brought in, grafted into the commonwealth. But you are no longer a Gentile. You are now Israel. That is a good thing. It is a very good thing. So, lessons today. I still have more to go over. I still have way more to go over. I did not even, I got maybe halfway done. I just do not want this to be a 2-hour podcast, 2-hour episode. So please leave your questions below, and then maybe I can answer them on the next episode. So we're going to have a part 2, I think. So the good news is that Jesus was here to find the house of Israel, to remarry the house of Israel, to bring them back together. And that was the good news that's the good news of the gospel. Paul had the good news. They knew the problem. That's why the pagans were able to accept Paul's message so fast and so clearly, because they knew what Paul was talking about from the Old Testament. The scattered sheep is the house of Israel. You are grafted in. If you are a follower of Yeshua, you are grafted in to the house of Israel. That is not a bad thing. It is not a bad thing. God is saying throughout the whole Bible that he is going to bring the tribes back together. It is not replacement theology. The Jews are not a lost cause. There's always a remnant. Go read Revelation. There's 12,000 in each tribe. Doesn't sound like a whole lot. Anyways, shalom, y'all. Have a blessed Sabbath if that's the way you follow. If not, have a blessed weekend.